There is a kind of person that the world feeds on.
Not because they are weak, not because they are foolish, but because they are too good. They give without being asked. They show up without being called. They pour and they pour until there is nothing left to pour from. And then, when they fall, the very people they filled walk past them. This is the story of Omar. And if you've ever given everything and received nothing, stay with me because this story is for you. Omar was the kind of woman that people described with one word. She's so nice. She heard it everywhere she went. At work, at church, in her family, among friends. Omar is so nice. And she was. She was the first to arrive when someone had a problem. The first to give when someone was in need. The first to call when someone seemed quiet. The first to sacrifice even before anyone asked. If a colleague was overwhelmed, Omar stayed back to help finish the work. If a friend was crying at midnight, Omar was awake on the phone until 3 a.m. If someone needed food, Omar cooked. If someone needed money, Omar gave. Not once, not twice, but always. She had this belief deep inside her chest that people were mirrors, that what you gave out would come back to you, that kindness was a seed. Plant it in enough people, and one day when the storm comes, they will shelter you. So she kept planting and planting and planting. Omar worked hard. Every month, like clockwork, she would set money aside, a little here and a little there, watching the number grow. Not because she was chasing wealth, but because she had a dream. But here's the thing about being known as the nice one. People know where to come when they need something. And they always come to Omar. There was Chidi who needed money for his rent. Just this once. There was Adeze whose children were sick and needed hospital fees. There was her colleague Bello who needed a loan to sort out something urgent. There was her friend Fumi whose business had a sudden gap. Each time, Omar would look at her savings. Each time she would feel that familiar pull in her chest. If I don't help them, who will? And each time she gave. Without interest, without pressure, without a return date. Because she didn't want to seem stingy. Because she didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable. Because deep down, she feared that if she said no, they wouldn't love her anymore. So she gave Chidi his rent. She covered Adeze's hospital bills. She lent Bello the money he never quite repaid. She gave Fumi 3 months of her savings. And by the time it was over, 8 months was already gone. When Omar finally gathered the courage to ask Fumi about the money, she asked her gently, carefully and politely. But do you know what Fumi's response was? She said, "Is it because you gave me the money that I wouldn't hear word again? If you hadn't given it to me, someone else would have." And just like that, the conversation was over. The money was gone, and Omar was left holding the silence. She told herself, "It's okay, let it go." So she let it go. She let go of Chidi's debts. She let go of Bello's "I'll pay you back." She let go of the colleagues who stopped saying thank you, who started expecting her help like it was her job, who passed her work to her without asking, who took her time like it was water from a tap, free, unlimited, available. At work, her boss had stopped being grateful. Somewhere along the line, what used to be "thank you, Omar," became "Omar, handle this." What used to be appreciation became assumption. And still, she smiled because that was what nice people do. They smile, they absorb, they go home and cry quietly, and they come back the next day and give again. And then Oma got sick. It wasn't cold, it wasn't a headache she could push through. It was the kind of sickness that puts you in bed for days, the kind that makes your body say, enough, we are stopping now. She had been running on empty for so long. Her body finally collected the debts she had been ignoring. She lay there, tired, weak, alone, and she waited. She waited for Chidi to call. She waited for Adaeze to check in. She waited for Bello, for Fumi, for her boss, for any of the people whose numbers she had saved, whose problems she had solved, whose tears she had absorbed. She waited. And the silence was so loud, it was almost unbearable. Then her phone rang. Her heart jumped. They remembered, she thought to herself. It was someone she had helped before, calling, not to ask how she was feeling, but to ask if she could send some money. Oma's thin voice replied, "I'm not well right now. I don't have the money at the moment." There was a pause, then a sigh, and the call ended. No get well soon. No, I'm sorry to hear that. Just a sign and silence. Oma stared at the ceiling for a long time after that. Later that week, she reached out to one of the people she helped the most. She explained her situation. She asked carefully, humbly, if they could help her this one time. The response came back, "I don't really have money right now, and honestly, if I'm going to give anything out, I would need 20% interest every month." 20% every month from Oma, the woman who had never charged a single naira of interest, the woman who had given freely again and again. 20% from her? Oma didn't respond. She put down her phone, and for the first time in a very long time, she cried. Not with sadness, but with clarity. When Oma healed, actually she did heal. She did something she had never done before. She sat with herself. No phone, no noise, no one to help. Just Oma and the question she had been running from. Why do I feel responsible for everyone's life? When did I last ask myself what I needed? Would any of these people love me if I had nothing to give? Am I being kind, or am I seeking approval through sacrifice? The answers came slowly, honestly. She had confused giving with belonging. She had believed that if she helped enough people, she would earn a permanent seat at the table of love. But no one had told her. People who take advantage of your kindness are not people who love you. They are people who love what you give. And there is a difference. So Oma made a decision not to become cold, not to become bitter, not to lock her heart behind iron walls, but to become intentional. She would still be kind, but kindness would now come with wisdom. She would still give, but giving would not come with boundaries. She would still show up, but she would show up for herself first. And slowly, quietly, Oma began to pour back into herself. Let's sit with what Oma's story teaches us. Because these lessons are not just for her, they are for every one of us. Lesson 1. Kindness without boundaries is not a virtue, it is self-abandonment. There is nothing wrong with being generous, but when your generosity consistently leaves you empty, when you give at the expense of your own survival, you are not being kind to others, you are being unkind to yourself. Real kindness includes yourself. Lesson 2. Not everyone who receives from you will return for you. This is hard to accept, but it is the truth. Some people in your life are there for your resources, not your relationship. The test is simple. Remove what you give and watch who stays. Lesson 3. People will treat you with the way you train them to. When Oma gave without limits, She taught people that she had no limits. When she never followed up, she taught people there were no consequences. Your boundaries are not walls, they are instructions. They tell people how to treat you without them. People write their own rules. Lesson 4. Entitlement grows in the soil of endless giving. Gratitude has an expiry date when giving becomes expected. The thank you that once came freely disappears. When what you give becomes assumed, this is not always malicious, it is human. Which is why intentional giving with clear expectations protects the relationship. Oma did not become cold, she became whole. She learned that the world does not reward exhaustion, it rewards wisdom. She learned that she was not responsible for carrying what others refused to carry themselves. She learned that she was truly allowed to choose herself. And perhaps the most powerful thing she discovered, when she stopped being available for everyone, the right people, the real ones stayed. If Oma's story touched something in you today, if you recognize yourself in her giving, her silence, her sick bed, then this message is for you. You are not a vending machine, you are a person. Act like one. Set your boundaries. Protect your peace. Give generously but wisely. And never ever forget, you deserve the same love you give freely to everyone else. Carry the light, but carry yourself first.